Yo, what's up? In dire need of a haircut, but I'm gonna try to bust out the answer to this question. So the two questions, which I'll put on screen, basically, how do we build intuition for bluff catching, and what do we do in pools that under bluff with theoretically correct bluff catchers? First off, I wanna say we should not just be treating pools like they under bluff. We wanna treat spots as specifically as possible, and then when unsure of what happens, move out to a layer or heuristic for the situation. So for example, we can get to a spot, and if we don't really know if this spot's under or over bluffed, we can get to like, well, this is a really wide range, and so it's easy to overbluff, or this is a really tight range, so it's hard to overbluff. And then if we don't know one of those two things, then maybe we can go even wider to like, well, maybe then this pool under bluffs and we just fold. But we wanna start with considerations for the precise spot that we're in. That being said, the best indicators for when people tend to bluff, when you look weak, your opponent feels like they look strong, and they have weak hands to fire as bluffs, guess what? They're probably gonna. But if you wanna build better intuitions for this, there's one really cool thing you can do, which is not watch when people bluff, but watch what people check back. You'll notice that in check back lines get to river, in many pools, you actually don't see that many weak hands getting to river. And so when you are watching hands that are showdowns in the check back line, this gives you an indicator of what is being fired. So you can see where people check down unusually weak hands, but more importantly also, where people check down unusually strong hands. If people check down hands that are almost certainly worth money for value bets, that's a really good indicator that they're probably over bluffing. Because if they're checking too many strong hands that can be value betting, but they're still betting weak hands, it's gonna be so much easier for those proportions to be out of whack. So that would be my best idea for you, is look for spots where people check back too strong of hands. Yes, how we build an intuition for what can be value betting and what can be bluffing is in solvers. And so it's useful to see in solvers, what are the mandatory value bets? How thin can we go? What are the mandatory bluffs? And do I see those getting to showdown often in the check back line? What you might be surprised by is that many spots that seem like people under bluff, they actually don't go nearly thin enough for value and are often over bluffing because of it. But you can be skewed to think they don't bluff enough because you often see strong hands in that line, which also makes bluff catching scarier. But in spots where you only expect very strong hands and people can have bluffs to fire, they probably are.